The smell hit him first, something between burnt cinnamon and ozone. Theo Cass paused under the arch of the embassy entrance, blinking at the glowing hieroglyphs carved into the doorway. They pulsed with a rhythm that could either mean, welcome or please surrender your lungs. He tugged at the collar of his diplomatic tunic, standard issue, pre-wrinkled, and slightly too tight in the armpits, and gave a mental salute to every science fiction author who had ever romanticized alien diplomacy. They had not, he was sure, attended a reception where the appetizers had eyes and were watching you back. Still, he couldn't afford to screw this up. His job, junior xenolinguist, human envoy to the Alaran cluster, wasn't glamorous, but it paid enough to cover Earthside rent and the occasional luxury of caffeinated toothpaste. His sole mission tonight: don't offend anyone important, don't touch anything sacred, and under no circumstances, don't mention ears. That last part was emphasized in the pre-briefing with a full slide deck. The Alaran resembled humans in unsettling ways, but their ears, long, curved like scimitars, and capable of expressing the full range of emotional nuance from disdain to mild flirtation, were deeply intimate. Staring at them was like staring at someone's browser history. He made his way through the hall, nodding politely to a group of gelatinous dignitaries whose limbs rearranged every few seconds. One of them tried to offer him something wriggling on a stick. He declined with a bow and a smile that screamed, "Please don't make me eat anything sentient." At least the music was decent. Polyphonic tones played on an instrument that looked like a harp had mated with a theremin and regretted it. And then she arrived. He didn't hear her footsteps so much as feel them, a low harmonic disturbance in the gravitational balance of the room. He turned, mid-sip of something alarmingly blue, and choked on it as his eyes locked onto the woman descending the embassy staircase. She moved like an algorithm had calculated the exact seductive velocity to short-circuit human motor function. Long dark hair, bioluminescent dress that shimmered with a spectrum he was fairly certain humans couldn't even perceive without a migraine. And ears, those ears, tapered and luminous, twitching slightly as if they were listening to thoughts he hadn't thought yet. "Good evening," she said in perfect Terran standard, her voice smooth, calibrated, but not cold. "I am Elenia. You are the linguist?" He nodded, still coughing. "Theodore Cass." "Yes, I do. Language." He winced. "That came out weird. I usually speak better. Like, not in fragments." She tilted her head and her ears mirrored the motion, an elegant synchrony that made him feel like a beetle with a mortgage. Her eyes scanned him, not cruelly but precisely. She gestured toward a smaller chamber adjacent to the main reception hall. "Would you like to speak more privately about language?" "Oh no, 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 no." Private chambers were on the don't list, right under "don't comment on the ears" and "don't flirt with diplomats whose species can smell intent." But she was already walking, and his legs, betraying centuries of evolutionary caution, followed. The chamber was quiet, lit by ambient biolight and subtle pulses in the walls that he suspected were monitoring his biometrics. She turned gracefully and stood in front of the door. And he said it. "That dress. You look incredible." It slipped out like a banana peel in zero-G. Uninvited, irretrievable, floating in the silence between them like a ticking device. She stared at him. No expression, but her ears pulsed with a faint lavender hue. He held up both hands. "I didn't mean, it's not like, I mean, I meant it, but I didn't mean it like that." She took one step toward him, then another. "I mean, I did mean it like that, but only as a compliment, not as a vow or whatever." "Oh no, oh no." She reached behind her, pressed her palm to the glowing panel on the door. With a faint thunk, it locked. Wait, was that a metaphorical lock or like an actual legal? "You have spoken the words," she said softly. He laughed nervously. "I say a lot of words. Some of them are even on purpose." She stepped closer. In Alaran culture, words of recognition spoken in solitude, in proximity, and directed with unbroken eye contact are legally binding under the Pact of Intention. "I did not intend a pact. I was just, seriously, I once told a vending machine it looked nice. Am I married to a snack dispenser somewhere?" Her lips quirked slightly. Did it respond? Yes, it gave me 2 bags of pretzels. Then perhaps it accepted your offer. He groaned, scrubbing his face. Look, Elenya, you're amazing. Like absurdly elegant in a way that makes me want to apologize for every sweatpant I've ever worn. But I'm not ready for a cosmic entanglement. You spoke the words, she repeated. To revoke them requires a ritual of regret, which I deeply regret already. Her head tilted again. Number, not your regret. Mutual regret. If I do not regret, the bond remains. He blinked. So I have to make you regret me? Yes. That might actually be the one diplomatic task I'm qualified for. I doubt that. Challenge accepted. She stepped aside and gestured to the room's center, where 2 chairs and a translucent orb hovered above a platform. Sit. We will begin the verification. Verification of what? Compatibility, neural alignment, emotional capacity, endurance. I really hope that last one refers to patience. She sat, folding her limbs with grace. He stumbled into the opposite seat like a giraffe on a trampoline. The orb glowed and spun slowly, emitting low-frequency pulses. I can still back out, right? Number. But you can entertain me with your resistance. Great, I'm a one-man sitcom now. He squinted at the orb. Is this going to scan my brain? Yes. Should I think smart things? No. Too late. Already thought about waffles. She smiled faintly. Your brain is busy. That's the nicest way anyone's ever described my anxiety. The orb pulsed. Neural link initializing, it said in both their languages. Oh boy. Prepare for pattern reveal, it added. Theo swallowed. Pattern? What pattern? Your true self, Elenya said. I was afraid of that. The orb hummed louder, like a small appliance about to make either toast or irreversible neural contact. Theo gripped the sides of the chair as a faint tingling spread across his scalp, somewhere between static electricity and the feeling you get when someone stares at your search history. He tried to think calming thoughts. Puppies, jazz, spreadsheets. Anything but the fact that he had apparently proposed galactic marriage with an accidental compliment. I'm getting warm, he muttered. That's the scan beginning to trace your thought lattice, Elenya said, eyes closed. Her ears twitched. Do not resist. Not resisting, he said, then immediately resisted. His brain did that thing it always did in panic, began composing haikus about his own anxiety. Orb scans my poor mind. Found guilt, snack cravings, regret, please abort, process. Elenya, unbothered, exhaled softly, as if tuning herself to a frequency beyond embarrassment. Her body shimmered with low biolight, a sort of gentle aura that suggested she belonged in some sacred poem, while Theo looked like he'd wandered in from a laundromat accident. The orb shifted hue, deep violet now, casting strange shadows across the walls. Your memory core is attempting to shield itself, Elenya said calmly. That's because my memory core contains high school, he snapped. No one needs to see what I look like with frosted tips. A flicker of amusement passed over her face. Resistance increases imprint tension. Let's just call that personality, Theo said, trying to slouch and failing. So what exactly is this test verifying again? Compatibility? Empathy? IQ? Internal coherence, as she said. We must know if your soul contradicts itself. Oh, he muttered, then I'm toast. The orb's voice dropped an octave. Initiating DreamShare Layer 1. There was a brief sensation of falling sideways through syrup. Then Theo found himself standing barefoot in the middle of a landscape that looked suspiciously like his college dorm room, except the wallpaper was pulsating and the floor was made of soft moss. His old mini-fridge sat in the corner, humming ominously. He turned and Elenya was there, wearing a version of her gown made entirely of binary code. It scrolled across her like fabric sewn from equations. Her ears were aglow, but her face was blank. Why is this place you? She asked. Technically, it's my memory palace, Theo said, stepping carefully around an animated lava lamp trying to bite his foot. Although palace might be generous. Memory studio apartment, maybe. She crouched by a bookshelf. Instead of books, there were pizza boxes. Do you always dream like this? Only when someone's psychic force drags me through my neurology, he replied, tugging a floating beanbag out of the air. Look, we can go deeper if you want, but just a heads up. My subconscious is mostly sitcom references and unresolved father issues. I see, she said thoughtfully. Your symbols are layered. Layered is one word, cluttered is another. She reached for a floating object that resembled both a snow globe and a tax return. The moment she touched it, the scene shifted again. They were in a new dream space, an alien garden under a prism sky, petals shaped like Fibonacci spirals unfolding in patterns that made his eyes water. Theo blinked, turning in place. This is yours. Yes, she said. These are the memories of my sanctuary. There was no sound, only the low murmur of something vast thinking nearby. In the distance, trees rippled with colors he had no names for, and above them, constellations danced as if choreographed by a patient god. Well, Theo said, kicking at a pebble that turned into a butterfly midair, your brain is way more impressive than mine. You show me comfort, I show you exile. He glanced at her. That's a heavy sentence. I was cast out from my bonding caste. Emotions were discouraged. I failed to mask. He opened his mouth, then closed it. For a second, no jokes, just gravity between them. Then gently, on Earth, I once got kicked out of a chess club for making a fart noise during the final match. It's not exile, but it was emotionally significant. She blinked. Then to his surprise, she smiled. Your grief is inefficiently symmetrical. I think that's the kindest way anyone's ever described my life. Suddenly, the orb's voice returned. Layer 2 integration complete. Conflict node detected. The ground beneath them shuddered. A crack split the garden, running between them. A shadow rose, tall, angular, faceless. Theo's gut clenched. He knew what this was. My fear, he muttered. The shadow stepped forward, and Theo saw it wore a version of his own face. Expression blank, eyes dull. The voice it spoke with was his own, only colder. You always ruin it, the shadow said. You joke, you dodge, you fail. You don't belong here. Alenia stepped in front of him. He belongs where he chooses. It's just my insecurity monster, Theo said quickly. He's cranky. Been that way since 6th grade. The shadow turned to Alenia. And you bonded out of loneliness, not love. You don't belong either. She flinched. The orb pulsed again. Resolution required for progression. Theo narrowed his eyes. Hey, shadow me. It turned. He flipped it off. The shadow paused. Theo stepped forward. You live in my head rent-free, you freeloading projection. You are not the boss of me. You're a bad roommate. The shadow twitched. Then before it could respond, Alenia reached out and gently touched Theo's arm. Let me try, she said. She walked up to the shadow and whispered a word he didn't understand. Musical, strange. The shadow froze, trembled, and slowly dissolved into light. The orb chimed. Conflict node resolved. Theo exhaled. You just defeated my inner voice with poetry. That's not fair. She looked back at him, smiling faintly. You softened it first. The dream space began to collapse like a set being dismantled. Verification complete, the orb intoned. Compatibility, sufficient. Emotional resonance, emergent. Proceed to elevation? Wait, Theo said, already feeling the world spinning. He woke in the chamber, still seated, slightly sweaty. Alenia opened her eyes. You were honest, she said. Only because you were terrifying. She tilted her head. Do you wish to proceed? I don't know, Theo admitted, but I think I want to find out. She nodded slowly, and the door unlocked with a soft click. He blinked. So, it wasn't locked anymore? No, she said. You just weren't ready to walk out yet. The breakfast tray hovered into the room uninvited, bumping gently against Theo's knee before settling beside him with a cheerful chime that felt suspiciously smug. He eyed the food with suspicion. Everything was vaguely purple and shaped like spirals, and one of the items appeared to be breathing. That one's still alive, he muttered. It's dreaming, Alenia said from across the room, brushing her hair behind her ear as she activated a wall screen filled with cascading symbols. Alarin cuisine must be spiritually intact to maximize nutrient encoding. Theo poked it with a fork. It sighed. So if I eat this, it'll hold a grudge? It will forgive you by lunch. He picked up what looked like a liquid croissant and cautiously bit in. To his surprise, it tasted like maple syrup and regret. Not bad. He chewed slowly, watching her in the soft light. She had changed into something less ceremonial, a smooth-sleeved jumpsuit woven with reactive threads that shimmered when she moved. Somehow, she looked more powerful, dressed down. I had a weird dream, he said finally. It was not a dream. Well then, I had a weird, legally binding, emotional audit. She tilted her head. And I saw my inner saboteur, made peace with him, and learned that you have a brain garden that looks like a math professor's vacation. Also, I might be married now. Alenya's expression didn't change, but her ears twitched faintly. Not officially. Oh, thank God. Yet. He dropped his fork. Do you guys flirt like this? Is this flirting? Because I can't tell if I'm being wooed or gently threatened. A soft tone rang out, and the wall screen flashed a new icon, circular, blue, with a slowly expanding perimeter. Your presence triggered diplomatic arbitration, Alenya said, standing. The council has summoned us. Theo groaned. Why is everything here legally binding? Even my panic responses are probably notarized. We must attend, unless you wish to challenge the summons. What does that involve? A formal insult duel. He stood up. Nope. Council it is. They stepped into the corridor, flanked by two floating cubes that emitted a low, polite hum. Escort drones, Theo had learned, that doubled as emergency translators and low-yield defense mechanisms. One of them flashed a smiley face emoji at him. He waved back, uncertain if that was respectful or if he'd just accepted a duel with it. The council chamber was spherical, naturally, with levitating platforms arranged like a planetary model. Alien species filled the seats, some gelatinous, some mechanical, a few existing only as holographic tendrils. In the center, a pulsing obelisk projected their bios. A booming voice spoke, Human Theo Cass, Ellerin Alenya of Seventh Light. Your neural alignment has been verified. Your intentions remain ambiguous. Theo squinted upward. That's not fair. I'm always ambiguous. A second voice chimed in, whispery and sharp. Then clarify. Do you accept the bond? He opened his mouth. Nothing came out. The silence swelled. Alenya spoke. He is uncertain, but uncertainty is not betrayal. It is the native state of affection. A ripple of sound moved through the chamber, like approval wrapped in bureaucracy. Theo cleared his throat. Okay, I'm not rejecting the idea. I'm just overwhelmed. Yesterday I was arguing with my toaster. Today I'm being judged by a sentient pillar and 12 floating space gods. One of the delegates, a crystalline entity shaped like an hourglass with legs, hummed sympathetically. Another projected a pop quiz in response. Theo Cass, the pillar said, you may invoke the provisional clause of temporary resonance. I don't like the sound of any of those words. It grants a trial period of fusion, emotional, neural, and bureaucratic. You will share quarters, tasks, and intention metrics. At the conclusion, both may submit regret. Is that like a breakup? More like a memo. Theo looked at Alenya. What do you think? I am willing to discover. He blinked. That's basically romantic in my language. The council pulsed in unison. It is agreed. Initiating resonance protocol. Back in the quarters, now slightly rearranged to reflect dual habitation, Theo discovered his side of the room had been populated with Earth items pulled from cultural archives. A lava lamp, a guitar he didn't play, and a t-shirt that read, World's Most Anxious Ambassador. He stared at it. I didn't authorize this. The AI interpreted your psychological signature, Alenya said, hanging a wind chime made of light and sound. It attempts to comfort. It nailed the anxiety part. He flopped onto a couch that adjusted shape to fit his posture and immediately trapped him like a gentle couch hug. So, we're roommates now. Yes, trial marriage. In essence, with mood tracking and neural sync updates. Yes, he laughed, covering his face. My ex couldn't even respond to a text within 12 hours. You are progressing well, the room AI said cheerfully. Don't encourage him, Alenya muttered. That evening, they prepared dinner together, or tried to. Theo accidentally triggered a spice gland explosion and sneezed so violently he reset the room lighting. Alenya smirked as she deactivated the fire suppression orb. Culinary chaos is endearing, she said. I'm going to put that on a dating profile, he replied. Later, the neural sync orb pulsed gently between them, reading emotional resonance patterns. Theo glanced at it. Is it judging me? It is observing. Judging comes later. They sat in silence for a while. He glanced at her, at the tilt of her shoulders, the quiet rhythm of her presence. I've never done anything like this, he said. No one's ever wanted to merge thought patterns with me. Most people get bored after the second dad joke. I have observed your patterns, she said. They are inefficient, but warm. High praise from someone whose brain runs like a cosmic clock. She leaned back. I too have never merged. Is that rare for your people? She hesitated. It is rare for me. They looked at each other and something passed between them. Not quite electricity, not quite fate. Maybe just curiosity, the most underrated kind of gravity. Sleep cycle approaching, the AI announced. Theo stood and stretched. Do we share a bed, or is there a guest nebula I can crash on? There are boundaries, Alenya said softly. We will find them. Together. Sounds like the best possible way to be confused. They each retreated to their sections of the room, lights dimming gradually. As he lay in bed, Theo stared at the ceiling, which displayed a slow-moving star map. Somewhere, probably, his friends were still arguing about sports or crypto. He was sharing emotional metrics with a space diplomat, and oddly, it didn't feel like a mistake. The morning started with the couch trying to eat Theo again. It wasn't malicious, just enthusiastic. The Alaran concept of rest furniture appeared to blend sleep, massage, and a faint threat of assimilation. He wriggled free, hair sticking up at angles normally achieved only by electric eels or really confident punk bands. Sleep quality, erratic but within acceptable bounds, chirped the room AI. Please don't rate my unconsciousness, he mumbled, standing up. That's how Skynet begins. Alenya was already at the console, interfacing with what appeared to be a galactic spreadsheet made of sound. She didn't turn as she spoke. You twitched 117 times. Is that common? I have a very active dreamscape, he said. Last night I was being chased by a sentient tax form. It kept yelling about deductions. I monitored, she said. Your fear response was expressive. I'm not ashamed, he said, stretching. Everyone has their thing. Yours is probably, what, diplomatic protocol? Mine's being audited by an emotional abacus. She tapped the screen. Today we must attend phase 2 of the resonance protocol, the mutual challenge. That sounds like a game show where someone gets slimed. It is a shared task designed to test cohesion, adaptability, and joint navigation under stress. Okay, so like IKEA furniture, but galactic. The transport module arrived with a low whoosh, and they stepped inside. The walls shimmered with a soft, guiding light as the pod accelerated vertically, then sideways, then possibly through a minor reality fold. Theo's stomach performed a somersault and landed poorly. This is fine, he gasped. My organs enjoy origami. They arrived at what appeared to be a vast, zero-gravity simulation dome. Inside, floating debris formed the loose outline of an abandoned research station. The AI voice greeted them. Welcome, Pair Unit Casalenia. Your trial scenario is now loading. The Rift of Forgotten Systems. I don't like the sound of forgotten systems, Theo muttered. Things get forgotten for a reason, usually mold. The objective, the AI continued, is to recover the core memory node and escape within 40 minutes. Failure to escape will result in emotional imprint degradation. Theo turned to Alenya. Is that metaphorical, or will I actually start forgetting my passwords? Emotional degradation mimics early romantic decline, she explained. Irritability, indifference, selective amnesia of positive bonding. So like a 2-year relationship compressed into a half hour. They entered the simulation, drifting gently through the derelict corridors of the station. It was all rust-colored metal and flickering lights, with the occasional spark of static dancing along the floor. "I'm not great with puzzles," Theo warned, "unless they involve Netflix recommendations." "I will handle systems interface," Alenia said. "You handle observation and morale." "Morale's my specialty," he said. "Do you want an inspiring speech or an ironic haiku?" "Proceed." He cleared his throat. "Wires twist like snakes. My soul clings to gravity. Do we have snacks here?" They reached the central processing core, which was, of course, guarded by a semi-sentient firewall in the shape of a very cranky digital crab. Theo took one look and stepped back. "I don't negotiate with crustaceans." "I will distract it," Alenia said. "You bypass the security array." "Got it. What's a security array look like?" She pointed to a spinning lattice of translucent code hovering beside the mainframe. "Oh no. It's one of those logic puzzles," he whispered. "I failed these in school. I once gave a vending machine a virus trying to guess a password. I have confidence in your chaotic patterning." That might be the nicest insult I've ever received. While Alenia engaged the crab with what looked like a combination of logic riddles and operatic tones, Theo squinted at the array. Symbols danced before his eyes, rotating glyphs, shifting sequences, colors that pulsed in odd rhythms. "I can do this," he whispered, immediately pressing the wrong glyph. "Incorrect input," the AI said flatly. "Penalty activated, induced relational doubt." He blinked as the dome flashed red. A recording of Alenia's voice played over the speakers, slightly distorted. "Perhaps I chose poorly." "Wow," he muttered. "This is like emotional escape room meets couples therapy." He took a breath, stared at the pattern, his eyes unfocused, then focused again. He tapped a glyph that reminded him of a coffee stain, then another shaped like his mother's disappointed sigh. One by one, the pattern locked into place. "Core node recovered," the AI intoned. "Proceed to extraction point." Theo turned. "I did it! I guessed right. Or possibly hallucinated the answer, which is good enough." Alenia rejoined him, looking faintly impressed. "Your mind is unpredictable." "I contain multitudes, mostly of anxiety and trivia." As they floated toward the exit hatch, the structure began to destabilize, simulated debris hurtling through the air. "Of course," Theo muttered. "Can't just end cleanly. Gotta have the dramatic collapse." Alenia grabbed his arm, steering them with one hand while accessing the magnetic thrusters on her belt. They hurtled past collapsing panels and flickering sparks, finally reaching the threshold. Theo slammed the exit panel, and the simulation dissolved around them. They landed back in the observation chamber, breathless, blinking. "Trial complete," the AI said. "Emotional cohesion, rising, neural alignment, oscillating but synchronizing." "Did we pass?" Theo asked. "You survived," the AI replied. "That exceeds the median outcome." Back in their quarters, they collapsed onto the couch, this time without consumption. Alenia sipped from a cup of steaming liquid that smelled like cinnamon and math. Theo nursed a sore ankle and a bruised ego. "Well," he said, "that was romantic, in a dystopian video game kind of way. Shared adversity strengthens union. That's one way to say we got chased by a cyber crab while a computer played our insecurities like karaoke." She tilted her head. "You adapted." "That is rare." He looked at her, amused. "Are you complimenting me or updating my file?" "Both." The orb between them pulsed faintly. A soft sound emerged, like two voices beginning to harmonize, off-key but closing in on something resembling music. Theo leaned back, staring at the ceiling again. "So what's phase 3? Alenia didn't answer right away. When she did, it was quiet. "Revelation. The truth we hide from ourselves." He groaned. "Of course it is. Are you afraid?" "Constantly," he said, "but now it's mildly enjoyable." The ceiling was displaying a rotating spiral of stars when Theo decided he was, without question, unqualified for whatever came next. He rolled onto his side and looked at the resonance orb, which was gently glowing like it was preparing a cosmic truth smoothie. "Okay," he muttered, "let's just get this over with. Tell me my core wound, my childhood flaws, and which ex I still subconsciously text in dreams." Alenia sat cross-legged across from him, her palms resting on her knees. This phase is not about wounds. It is about unveiling what you pretend not to know. I pretend a lot of things, Theo said, like that I'm good at small talk, or that I'm a casual drinker, or that my Earth social security number still means something to anyone. The orb began to hum louder, the pitch slowly shifting as patterns bloomed across its surface. His thoughts, her thoughts, and something in between, a resonance like a chord just barely tuning into itself. You must speak your truth aloud, Alenia said. That is the only way the orb will recognize it as part of your internal field. He squinted. Are you telling me I have to monologue my feelings into a space jellyfish? Yes. Well, this is it. The most romantic therapy session in the galaxy. He stood up awkwardly, cleared his throat, and pointed at the orb. Okay, listen here. Glowing sentient blender. Here's my truth. I am terrified of being seen. Not just looked at, seen. I spend most of my life making jokes and dodging sincerity because if I let someone see the messy, twitchy, never sure I belong part of me, I figure they'll either laugh or leave. The orb pulsed once, faintly violet. I've got imposter syndrome in my dreams, he continued. I say dumb things in important moments. I ruin quiet with panic. And when someone actually cares about me, I start looking for the eject button because I don't trust that it's real. Another pulse, this time deeper, warmer. He turned to Alenia. And when you locked that door, I panicked because I didn't believe I deserved to be chosen that fast. Or that clearly. The room was silent. Even the AI didn't try to rate him this time. Alenia stood slowly and walked to him, her voice calm. My truth, I have long believed I am only worthy if I offer usefulness, efficiency, emotional precision. I was told I feel too much, too soon. I learned to silence my longing. The orb shimmered gold. I was not afraid of your compliment, she said. I was afraid of what it would mean if I believed it. Their hands touched, his hesitant, hers deliberate. I'm not saying I know how to be good at this, Theo whispered. You do not have to be good. You have to be here. The orb pulsed one final time, then burst into a radiant halo that hovered above them like a question answered. A tone filled the room, clear, simple, honest. The AI's voice returned, softer than before. Resonance verified, mutual truth accepted, phase complete. You may now proceed to sovereign determination. Is that a dramatic way of saying, make a decision? Theo asked. Yes, the AI replied. He looked at Alenia. Okay, then I decide I want this. With you. Weird ears, sentient furniture, and all. She tilted her head. And I wish to continue unfolding. With you. A portal shimmered open at the far end of the room, revealing the Galactic Council again, though this time they were seated more casually. Some of the more relaxed members appeared to be sipping mood vapor. Theo and Alenia stepped through together. The central pillar greeted them. Declaration received. Do you wish to finalize the bond as a sovereign union of mutual becoming? Theo took a deep breath. I do. And, thank you for not turning me into data paste earlier. Alenia nodded. We do. There was a pause. Then, unexpectedly, applause. The crystalline delegate tossed holographic confetti. A robotic delegate played what sounded like a wedding march in 6 different keys. The council approved. Back on their transport, drifting through the Starstream corridor, Theo leaned his head back and exhaled for what felt like the first time in days. So, he said, we're officially something now. Yes, not just a cosmic paperwork accident. No, he smiled. Weirdly, I feel lighter. That is the absence of resistance. That or the purple breakfast blob finally left my system. She smiled back. You are becoming. I guess I am. He looked out the window. It's terrifying, but I kind of like it. Silence stretched comfortably between them. Then Theo said, so what now? Alenia turned to him. Now we choose the shape of what comes next. He nodded. Can I request fewer simulated crabs? She tilted her head. No promises. The stars streamed by. Behind them, the council chamber dissolved into protocol and memory. Ahead of them, space opened wide, unwritten, unknown, unrepeatable. And beside him, Elenya sat, not as a mystery, not as a symbol, but as a choice. He looked at her, heart quietly thudding. That dress, you still look incredible. She reached over, locked the cabin door. This time he didn't flinch. This time he smiled.